Miranda Beyer, and I graduated from EDCO in 2003. We were just upstairs, like by the gym, like reminiscing and looking at the old pictures and feeling incredibly old. Because it's not that long ago, but it feels kind of long ago. And so I graduated in 2003. I was born and raised here in Edgewood, and was in the same position that you guys were in, as far as knowing that I should be involved in clubs and doing things, but always feeling like I didn't like doing the same things that everybody else liked doing, you know? I was not an athletic person in high school. I liked to dance and I liked to sing, but there really seemed to be limited opportunities for me to do those things here. And so I did, you know, in my time in high school, I was active in band, I was active in choir, I was active in NHS. I did speech from junior high through my senior year, both large group and individual. I participated in the fall play and the spring play, and we even had a dance team back in my day. We never competed, but we did that, and I danced at a local studio, and I took voice lessons, and so I found ways to make myself really busy and to do lots of different things. But they were never, at that time, they were never the most populous of activities. You know, I wasn't a member of the basketball teams or the volleyball teams that always did well. That was never me. And so I always felt like, activity-wise, I was kind of an outlier or an outsider. You know, and I did the things that weren't necessarily considered super cool, right? And I was really okay with that. I was never the kid that felt like I needed to do this because this person is doing it. That was never me. And because of that involvement in those activities and my perception toward those things, it's definitely made me the person that I am today and has led me on the path to doing the things that I do. So let me ask you, how many of you, because this is junior high through high school, right? Okay, how many of you are junior highers? Awesome. How many of you are high schoolers? Awesome. How many of you consider yourself to be active in at least one club or organization here at school? All right. So, my first encouragement to you is to find something. Find something. You have 6 years in this building, okay? 6 years, especially when you're young, is a lot of years. And it's a great opportunity to try something and find out that you don't like it. My junior year, I did track. Mr. Luchin convinced me to do track. I hated every minute of it. But I did it. I did the entire season. I committed to it. I did it. And I learned lessons through that activity that I would not have learned otherwise. Because pushing through and learning perseverance in track feels a little differently than pushing through, 6 weeks of a play rehearsal. It's different. So I learned lessons in that other way, and I did better for it. I learned that I didn't like it, and that's okay. This is the time that you guys get to try things and fail at them and change your mind. That's what this time is for, right? So, let me tell you what all, I've been telling you about all of these experiences. Let me tell you what they've led me to. I own my own dance studio. It's called Fusion Dance Works. It's right here in town, and I also have a satellite space in Strawberry Point. And so I'm able to teach dance full-time, 3 days a week in these two communities. With my studio, I teach dance, I choreograph dance, I'm able to do freelance choreography, I am able to go out in the summers I go to different camps and I teach there. So that's opened a lot of artistic doors for me. I also coach speech at Starmont High School. I also coach speech there. And I'm also really active in different organizations here in Edgewood and in Strawberry Point. When I was 3 years old, long time ago, I was 3 years old, I went and saw my very first dance performance. And my grandmother, who just passed away this summer, my grandmother was with me and my mom, and she said to my mother, she said, now honey, there's no way she's gonna sit still and watch an entire dance performance. There's just no way. My mom was like, well, she really wants to go. So we went, and I stood in the aisle at this dance performance, mesmerized for 2 hours. I didn't move, I didn't do anything, I just stood there and watched these dancers on the stage. And I went home and I said, Mom, I want to be a dancer. Now, every single kid, I almost said girl, but I'm not going to put it there. Every single kid at one time or another has said, I want to be a ballerina when I grow up. I really, really did. I really, really wanted to do that. And so, knowing that, that was my passion. It started right then. I started dance classes like the next week. That is what I have always done. And when I was growing up, and I started to become active in things, you know, I was able to take dance classes on my own, but then when I was in high school, I was like, okay, what other things are going to get me toward that goal, that thing that I want to do? Well, I should probably know something about music. So I did band and choir. I should probably understand how to read a script and be a good presenter, because dancers have to be on stage and they have to present themselves. So I joined speech in 7th grade. And then when I was in high school, I was able to join the plays and get more stage experience and work on memorizing lines. And so all of those things fueled my fire, and they reminded me of why I loved what I do, and they made me better at what I wanted to do. You know what, I was talking about how when I was in high school, I didn't do the activities that were, you know, super popular. And, you know, I remember my senior year of high school, and we almost didn't have a musical that year because there weren't enough people that were interested in singing. There weren't enough people that were interested in being a part of the musical. But there was a small group of us, and we kind of rallied around it, and I don't know if you know Mike Jackson that is at the Methodist Church, and he does some different things here too. But he was our director that year. And we rallied around and were like, Mike, we really want to do a musical. And so he believed in us enough to find a musical with a really small cast, and we did a musical that year. And it was really fun. And it's, you know, it was always a pattern to do a musical every other year. We almost didn't have it, but he believed in us enough, and we wanted it bad enough that he let us have it. We found a way to make that happen. And so it became really clear to me that it's not always going to be feasible for somebody to just hand you an opportunity, right? Right now you are being handed all of these opportunities and all of these things that you get to try. Well, especially for you high schoolers, juniors and seniors, that time is almost out. Okay? You're going to go to college, and they're going to have opportunities in college, but it's going to get more competitive in college. And so your time to try those things is right now. This is when you have to do it. You have to take ownership of your life and make opportunities for yourself and seek them out and work for them, because nobody owes you anything. They don't have to just say, oh, here's an opportunity, I want you to have it. We have a really amazing community around us, and so I feel like we get more of those opportunities than most. that's not the reality everywhere, guys. Right now, the FBLA that's putting on this club week, I want to believe that they're really sincere in putting out all of these opportunities for you because they've seen the benefits of being active and participating in all of it, okay? So, it's all about grabbing onto those opportunities and taking advantage of them, okay? Now, when I was done here at EDCO, I took all of the lessons that I learned here. I went off to college. I went to a small college up in DeCraw called Luther. And up at Luther, I got to take all of the things that I learned here, and I got to build on them, and I got to learn more, and I got to get better at those things. And because I kept working, and I kept looking for opportunities, and I kept making that stuff happen, finished my education, and knowing where I came from, and knowing that I felt like I really had to work and seek out a lot of opportunities here, I decided that what better place to come and do what I love than here. Because if I felt underserved, and I felt like that I needed more opportunities, then I should come here and offer opportunities to young people so they don't have to feel like they're searching so hard, okay? So that's why I came back here. And another reason that I moved back to Edgewood is because sometimes it's just really nice to have your mom and dad close. You may want to get away from them right now, but someday it will be really nice to have mom and dad close to help you out with things. But when I was growing up, my dad owned his own business. You guys know where Casey's is now. That used to be a place called Standard Car Care and Mr. B's, and that was my dad's business. And he owned that business for almost 30 years until he retired from that business. And so I grew up in a home where my parents worked for themselves. I thought that was a pretty sweet thing, right? They got to kind of create the life that they wanted, and so that's what I wanted to do. And so I started my dance studio in 2007, and when you have this dream for something to be really, really amazing, and you want it to happen right away, when I opened my studio, I had 15 students. I had to work another full-time job to pay my bills, and I had 15 students. That's enough to fill one class. And so that was really hard, and that was really, really disappointing. And I thought that all of that work and all of the things that I did and experienced were not that important. And I probably should just chuck it, right? Like go somewhere, get a real job, and just do that. Well, my dad, who was a business owner, he said, Miranda, it takes 5 years. It takes 5 years for a business to turn around. I was never active in FBLA because I didn't think that was my thing. But when they were talking about how you gain business skills upstairs, how valuable would that have been to me when I was first starting my business, right? He told me it takes 5 years. Well, this is the 8th year of my studio, and my total enrollment this season is 55 students. I went from 15 students to 55 students, and it's enough to fill 3 very jam-packed full days of chaos in my building, okay? But it's wonderful chaos. It's wonderful chaos. There's the chaos right there. It's wonderful chaos, okay? And then the other thing, I told you I coach speech over at Starmont. I remember standing in the Commons, like my senior year of high school, and I was an all-stater my senior year, and I remember coming off of that feeling really, really awesome and thinking, you know what? How awesome would it be if I could teach dance and coach speech? Wouldn't that be awesome? That would just be super cool, and I could do both of these things that I love to do. And guess what? That's exactly what I'm doing. So, you guys have lots of time to learn and figure out what you want to do. But if you really find yourself super passionate about something, did have to come back here. I had to wait until an opening came open for a speech coach in the area. Guess what? I was here for like 1.5 years, and it did, right? And so I feel it's a really cool thing to be able to feel like you're exactly where you're supposed to be and doing exactly what you're supposed to do. But if I wasn't active in speech and dance and music in high school, I wouldn't have had the dreams to do what I did, to do what I'm doing right now. I wouldn't have had that drive and that passion. And so it's all because I was active in those things in high school, and I didn't wait. I didn't wait until, maybe I'll try when I get to college. You won't. And you may not even have the opportunity, okay? I think that, does this go till 45?
To like 42.
Okay.
42.
So I'm gonna close with this. It's all about finding your tribe. Okay? A tribe is a group of people that are gonna stick together, they're gonna encourage each other, they're gonna support one another. And you know what? Being a part of a club gives you a tribe. You're in a group of people that are doing the same thing that you're doing. They're working toward the same goal. And they're people that you can bounce ideas off of and get encouragement from one another. And if I didn't have that, if I hadn't been active in high school, I wouldn't have had the courage or the skills to live the life I'm living right now. And you know what? It's a pretty great life. It's hard, and there are struggles. But anything worth having is hard sometimes. But I was equipped here in this building. And so there's no reason you can't have all of that. Okay? So I talked a lot. My kids know I'm a talker, like really bad. So, any questions before we have to close?
Well, would you say that these activities made you more well-rounded, so that you're more prepared to face all sorts of different things that happen?
Absolutely, absolutely. Being involved in speech made me real flexible. It's like if you drop a line, you got to figure out what you're going to say next. That happens in life. It's like, oh, well, this appointment doesn't work out. So, how am I going to fix that? How am I going to make that better? It just makes you more flexible to those things. They're also going to give you a really strong work ethic, you guys. If you guys are sick of the general world saying that your generation doesn't work for things and doesn't want things and they don't work hard, then you got to prove them wrong. Okay? And these clubs are going to make you do that. They're not going to be like labor intensive and you're carrying rocks across. It's not going to be that. But it's going to teach you how to stick with something and work hard for it. Okay? And so any college you go to, any job you go to get, they're going to look at that list of clubs and they're going to say, hey, they're a go-getter. They want to work. They want to try this. And then they look at the resume that has nothing on it. And they're like, what's going to keep them here? They're not going to work hard for me. Makes a big difference. Makes a really big difference. Other questions?
Yeah, all of those 21st century skills that we talk about, being dedicated, being a leader, having a good attitude, all of those things you definitely learn in these clubs. Because just like how you don't want to come to school every single day of your life, and I know that's a big secret, but sometimes, you don't feel like going to band practice or whatever, but you do it, and then you become more successful because of it. So it's that success, being really good at something, knowing that you personally stand out for something awesome. That's a huge motivator to come to school. If math isn't exactly your thing, well, maybe you cannot wait to get to speech practice because that's the best part of your day, okay? Or art club or whatever.
I have kids on my speech team that can really struggle in their academics, but they know that if they don't do well in their academics, they don't get to perform. So you know what they do? They buckle down and they get their schoolwork done.
And of course, studies show that the more active you are in these clubs, the higher your grades will naturally become because you are more well-rounded. You have more information at your fingertips. You can make more connections than other people that are not involved. Somebody that's involved in choir may have sung about this type of situation, and they can totally emotionally relate to this in the real world. It's all about those connections. You get smarter. You actually become smarter. You're going to be more engaged in your academics because you're going to be smart. You're going to have those connections. You're probably going to have better ACT scores. Statistically, people that are involved in stuff don't they usually have better test scores? Definitely. So that helps you out with college too, getting scholarships. If money is a concern, grades are the way to go.
Yes, go ahead. Okay, so because I was so involved, so speaking of scholarship, I don't even remember what the name of the scholarship was, but it was one of the biggest ones. It was a $1,500 scholarship, renewable every semester, that EDCO gave away back in 2003. I don't know if they still do it, but it was a business award, and I got the business award. And I was never involved in FBLA or any of those business specific clubs. But when I talked, when I was presented with it, and I was like, how in the world was I qualified for this? They said, you have a passion and you have a drive to make your dreams happen. And so we want to encourage that. Oh my goodness. But it was just because I was active. If I was sitting and not being involved in any clubs and not doing anything, they wouldn't have acknowledged that in me. Right? So I mean it is, it's huge. It's really important.